Hey, Geekscapists, welcome to our brand new Geekscape podcast. I'm Jonathan London, your host. If this is your first Geekscape, strap yourselves in for some pop culture talk, movies, video games, comic books, TV. That's usually within our purview. That's what we like to talk about. We're going to be talking about that stuff anyway. Why not make a podcast about it? That's what I said back in 2006 when I started Geekscape. And since then, man, we've done some cool interviews. We've had some great guests on the show, and we've talked tons of comics, movies, video games, and TV. This episode is a special. We're going to be talking all about Captain America, Brave New World. This is the first official Sam Wilson as Captain America outing. Granted, in Falcon and Winter Soldier, the Disney Plus show, he was Captain America. Now he's Captain America with his own big screen film. How'd it work? Did it soar? Did it crash and burn? Or was it a mix of both? Ian Kerner and I are going to talk about it. There's a ton to talk about with Captain America, Brave New World. I think it's a really interesting movie for a lot of reasons. Some of it's successful, and some of it Ian and I are going to dig into. There's a movie that was reshot quite a bit over the last year, and the results are up on the screen. And it made what is what I'm reading is that it was like a $180 million budget, and it made $180 million worldwide on its first weekend. So this is a profitable film. Despite all the people saying DEI Captain America, not my Captain America, all that garbage that you get on the internet because it's the internet. We're going to talk about it. Quick reminder, I want to tell you guys, since you're listening to a Geekscape, we still have a Kickstarter going for Hear the Prophecy. Paul London, Hear the Prophecy, the comic book, is still going on Kickstarter, still going strong. We funded in 4 days, but we have some stretch goals up right now. If you go to heartheprophecy.com, you can find those stretch goals. You can be a part of those stretch goals, help us earn the stretch goals, and work our way towards issue number 2, which is currently maybe in production. Who knows? But I'm excited to continue the story, and I'm really excited by all the enthusiasm and support that you guys have shown over the last 2 weeks. That really, I mean, when I hit go live on that Kickstarter, I was thinking, is this something I'm going to have to put on a couple of credit cards to get finished? But you negated that whole worry within 4 days. So from my deepest depths of my heart to you, thank you. That was a scary moment. Like, are they going to love this? And resoundingly, you have said yes. So thank you many times over. And join the campaign, heartheprophecy.com. At least follow it so you can get some of those updates, like video messages from Paul and stuff like that. All right. Let's talk Captain America, Brave New World. Let's start the episode. You're in the right place. There will be spoilers. I definitely want to tell you about that. Heidi leaned into me halfway through the movie and goes, okay, so I saw the Red Hulk in the trailer. Who's the Red Hulk? She's, there's a bit of a Falcon and Winter Soldier type espionage element to the movie, and you don't know who to trust. And she turned to me and said, who's the Red Hulk? Who turns into the Red Hulk? And I'm like, oh, cool. She doesn't know yet. She can still be surprised by this movie, and I hope that you are too. So there will be spoilers, lots of them. And if you're down with that, keep watching. If not, come back once you've seen the movie. But for now, we're going to start Geekscape. All right, Geekscapists, let's talk some Captain America Brave New World, the big movie that came out this past weekend. Anthony Mackie takes center stage as Captain America. This is his movie. The whole thing falls on his shoulders. He got the shield. He was Steve Rogers' choice. And now we see if he can support his own movie. Financially, yes. This movie made its money back, its budget back worldwide this weekend. So fans did go to this movie. This is not a Marvel bomb. The critics, however, are putting this critic score below movies like Eternals, movies like what are some of the other not critically acclaimed Marvel movies? This is supposedly the lowest Metacritic score of any Marvel movie. Is this politics playing out? What's going on here? Do we even want to talk about that? Because really the only opinion that matters for the next few minutes is Ian Kerner's. So let's bring him in here and let's see. We talked briefly about the movie on the drive home, but I don't think we've made a definitive discussion about did we like the movie. So here's Ian. Ian, right off the bat, we got to talk. This is the Captain America 4 New World Order special. You and I drove home. We talked briefly about things that were curious in the movie, and it is a curious movie. I think this is a really interesting movie. The reshoots really made this movie inconsistent in some places, but there is some stuff in this movie that when it works, it really works.
Yeah,
but did you like the movie? Just flat out, did you enjoy the movie?
I liked the movie more than I expected to, because I heard a lot. I actually, unfortunately, someone I know saw it a couple days early. It pretty much gave me a play-by-play, so I had very few surprises. Mostly because they were upset, and I usually say no, and I was like, yeah, go ahead, tell me, just because I wanted to be prepared for it. And so having had the movie described to me pretty detailedly, I enjoyed the movie more because it sounded worse than it was.
The internet did a good job of buffering my expectations as well. Not that you need that in a movie. I think I would have enjoyed the movie regardless, but the internet was not kind to this movie going into it, and not because of the whole DEI Captain America political culture war garbage, which I'm just we just negate that immediately. Like, that's just stupid. You look at that Metacritic in the gamed numbers of the Metacritic where people are like, oh, it's worst Marvel movie ever, this and that. First off, the box office doesn't agree with you. It made its money back globally in the first weekend. People are turning up for this movie, but I was hearing that this is a movie that wasn't about anything, that had a chance to make some stances on stuff and say something, and I think in some ways it really did. In some ways, it did make a movie. It was a movie about a minority lead with a minority backup taking down a president who had some shady, issues and had been double dealing with not the best people. One of them tech-minded, very tech-minded, in science-based, in a geek. And then he turns angry and red, we can say orange, and ideally by the end of the movie he ends up in jail. This is a movie that almost eerily mirrors parts of our political discourse in America, and I think that it did a pretty good job of still being a Marvel comic book movie, still being really entertaining in a lot of places, and saying some things. And it said some things about Sam Wilson as a black man. The Isaiah Bradley stuff really worked for me. And there were parts of the movie that really worked for me. And then there are parts where I'm like, oh, okay, let's do that.
So here's the thing.
Yes, sir.
When you look at credits of movies and you see writers and you see, a lot of the ands in there, it means stuff. It means different writing teams, different drafts, and things like that. The fact that the director got a writing credit generally tells you that a significant amount of the movie was rewritten for reshoots, like on the go. Okay,
and those reshoots happened in the fall. Those are are very recent reshoots.
Yeah. So here's what I want to say, because I really, for the most part, really liked Falcon and Winter Soldier. I actually thought that all but the last episode felt a little pat.
And I didn't need I didn't need a lot of the stuff about the boat and the sister. I think that storyline could have been more engaging.
Sure, but that's character stuff, so I was fine with it.
Yeah,
you know what? But for the most part, the political stuff, I thought it was a really interesting show. And there's a lot of aspects of this that are really good follow up to the themes of that. And I suspect most of that stuff was always in the movie.
Agreed.
The writer of that had initially written this movie.
And is that the Isaiah Bradley stuff? Because I think
a lot of the Isaiah Bradley stuff was probably already in the movie. I think they had to finesse some of it to fit with the reshoots.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the Serpent Society stuff seemingly was reshoots. I think they were always in it, but it was different. I think that, I mean, I'm not really clear what they really did with Sabra.
Yeah, well, I mean, supposedly they shaded her back a bit.
Yeah,
They shaved the Sabro character back because of the Israeli Hamas situation, and
but
she
but but
is
but
the Israeli
what
superhero.
yeah, so what was she? Was she Israeli before, and then they made her a Black Widow? Was she an Israeli Black Widow, and they just said she's not an Israeli Black Widow now? She, even though she was Israeli, but they weren't really making a thing of that.
Right.
Like, it didn't even make sense. So this is an Israeli former Black Widow that is Secret Service. Does that
And
make any
second,
sense?
in the president's right hand
Yeah.
security.
Does that make any sense?
There were parts of it that did make sense. There were parts where the president of the United States had been gamma irradiated over the course of
Makes no
years
sense.
by the
Yeah.
leader, and I thought the leader was going to be a much smaller part of this movie. I thought the Serpent Society was going to be the larger part of this movie,
Yeah.
but it turns out that was flipped. The Serpent Society was working in service to the leader, and the leader is the big bad. He's a Hulk villain. You and I discussed, and we'll discuss here, how this is
Yeah.
very much an Incredible Hulk sequel,
Well,
as much as a Captain America sequel. But the Sabra stuff, and the stuff where there's a situation where you start to realize that President Thunderbolt Ross is going to become the Hulk, and he's trying to control his anger, and we know that he's been compromised and irradiated over years by gamma radiation. He's also probably the human being on the planet who gets the most physicals. So I was like, how did
You
this
would
gamma
think.
radiation
Right.
go under? Who was doing the physical? The leader?
Right.
Like,
And-
who's doing this stuff?
Well, you know, and it's an interesting thing. Like, there's certain themes and tropes in the comics, you know, Captain America comics specifically, about Cap, you know, going off on his own, not necessarily listening to the president, disagreeing, that stuff. It was a way to introduce that in, to also introduce Ross, but maybe trying to shoehorn those things together wasn't the best idea. I'm a little frustrated generally, and I think, you know, we say this a lot. Yeah, ever since Endgame, you know, Marvel's kind of all over the place. Like,
well, let's keep in mind,
hear me out on this.
Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 3 and Thor Dark World, and those movies came out before Endgame. And
there were flaws. That's not where I'm going with that. But like Secret Invasion, we know was god awful. But in Secret Invasion, you get a president who's kind of an asshole, you know, and he does and then he starts with all these new policies on that. Doesn't it feel kind of like a weird pivot to now we have a new president? Like, they threw that out there, and I know it wasn't good, but they threw it out there, and then it's like there's no ramifications of that nonsense.
No, the Secret Invasion stuff didn't have. It didn't even feel like it had much ramifications in the immediacy of the Marvels that came right after.
No, at all. And then it's not even here either. Like, wouldn't it have been better if that was the president he was clashing with, and maybe Thunderbolt Ross was a separate thing or not? You know, like, it seemed like they just pivoted out of nowhere.
Or Thunderbolt Ross only gained office because of the fallout of Secret Invasion.
Give me something.
Give me something.
Throw that in. That would have worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense to me. The politics change. That's the nature of it. A couple of years have gone by, and now it's a new president. Fine, but give me that at least some sense of continuity. Now, I've been struggling with something. I said going into this movie, I've literally said for a while now, we've known it was going to be the leader and Red Hulk. I was like, and I said, if Banner doesn't show up in this movie, I'm going to be pissed off. How do you do a Hulk movie without Banner, right?
Yeah.
Then I stepped back for a minute, and I said, you know, as we know, I'm reading these comics a long time, and both Marvel and DC with their shared universe, they've done something. It's usually specific writers that have done this, but you know, it doesn't have to be. It's probably editorial, whatever else, but where you do move characters that are usually associated with one character over to another, you know?
Yeah, I love that stuff. I love that the Kingpin started out as
Chris Claremont and Steve Englehart and Roy Thomas. They were always good at moving that stuff around.
And Kingpin started out as a Spider-Man villain, and he became a Daredevil villain. I love that stuff. Yeah, I love seeing who's going to match up against who. That's the part of the comics.
Yeah. And so in a sense, I forgive that for that reason. It also begs the idea of like, well, this isn't, you know, it's a big world. Banner just didn't happen to be there. And in fairness, having seen the movie, the fact that the Red Hulk's only moved 10 minutes, it's like, I mean, and when I say 10 minutes, I don't just mean 10 minutes of screen time. I mean, like
10 minutes of story time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's not like there was some kind of jump in time. Like, no, it goes, that's it. So if Banner wasn't right there, he didn't make it there. Get that. That actually ended up not really being a problem. It bothers me, But at the same time, all right, that wasn't really realistic, you know.
But if you are Sam
that was
Wilson
more realistic,
and you encounter the leader there in that underground base or in the black site, there's a scene in the black site where they find out the leader is the bad guy. You would do a video conference to Banner.
maybe
I was
not.
looking for a little bit of Banner in there,
again,
even if it was a small scene.
You're thinking about it like the comics, and
I love the
in the
comics.
MCU, Banner met this guy like once. I mean, they were communicating all that, but you know what I mean. Sam doesn't know all that.
He's the leading gamma scientist.
Yes,
in this universe.
but listen,
unless you introduce Amadeus Cho,
I could see that going either way.
Sure. So did you not get mad? I saw you starting to Hulk out, but I guess you did you tempered it. I saw your pants starting to rip.
No, it was one of those things that I went in kind of annoyed about and going like, you know what? For the sake of what the movie was, I don't necessarily have a problem with how it went. You know, I think it ended up being fine.
I like the movie more than I thought.
Now, the fact that supposedly the sense was Ross would have died in this, and he didn't. My big thing was, if there's no Banner, they can't kill him.
Right. They filmed one of the things that was reshot was a funeral scene.
Right.
It had Betty there, and it had Sam there.
Again, I think that's the right choice.
Right. Keep him alive. Keep him on the raft. I thought that was super cool. You get the great Betty scene. I thought that was really touching.
Yeah.
But some of the things that didn't work for me, that some of the action sequence that were part of the reshoots, they felt a little rushed. They felt a little rough. Some of the stuff that on a directorial aspect, but I understand that these movies get reshot, these movies get reworked. Editing is heavy in these films. I'm not in love with. I'm over a bit of the volume stage stuff. The heavily reliance on the volume stage and the green screen area.
I really felt that in that last scene in the fight with Sam and the Red Hulk.
Yes.
Earlier in the movie, I thought the action was pretty good.
Some good stuff in there. There's some. I thought the Tiamat sequence was really good.
Yeah.
I think the flying around Tiamat sequence where they are trying to avoid
really
World War III, that stuff was awesome.
The opening fight stuff I thought was good. I mean, when he gets in the fight with Constrictor, I was like, it's a retread of Baytrock. And that was another thing we talk about, like a lot of repeated beats, you know, from Winter Soldier, which were a little weird.
This could have been its own movie, and I think it should have been more of its own movie than being a bit of a spiritual successor to Winter Soldier. And some of that is, at this point that we are past Endgame, that we are now having She-Hulk and having some fun with the Marvel Universe, and we're post Guardians, I wanted to see the leader look like the leader in the comics a bit more.
Yeah, I was bothered they just kind of look like a zombie.
In the Serpent Society should have a little bit more comic book to it, which would have been fun in that sequence where he's fighting Constrictor. Yeah. I love Sidewinder. You know, I love Giancarlo. I thought every moment he's on the screen, this movie gets floated. But not to say that Anthony Mackie and everybody else isn't great. These actors are awesome.
Sure.
But he adds a bit of panache to his scenes, and that shootout and the car shootout with Sidewinder and all that stuff is fantastic.
But it also felt very much like the Nick Fury hit, right?
It did. So the leader, I want a big head leader. I want a bit of a big head leader, not a zombie leader, a big head leader.
Yeah,
who's not a bit of like, you know, he can't walk around in daylight. He can't, you know, a top hat or a hat and a coat isn't going to cover the leader, and it shouldn't. The leader should be able to walk around because it's that much of a badass and lethal. He's evil. And I want to see a diabolical leader. He's definitely diabolical in this, but the hiding in the shadows zombie stuff, I don't know. That design doesn't work for me.
Now I have to say again, and this is always the issue. It's like you don't want these characters to be one-offs a lot of the time. And on a certain level, I'm like, well, the fact is I was messed up and all that. The idea that he looks really messed up and like he's falling apart, because sometimes this stuff is not going to affect people. You know, it's going to be even worse than just turning green and getting a big head.
Sure, the gamma radiation, yeah.
And so I struggle with that because I'm like, but then the flip side of it for me is, but shouldn't it kind of be either it kills you or it doesn't?
It didn't kill him. It should magnify his intelligence, and his brain his head should have gone like bigger. I immediately showed Heidi the character from the comics, And he's
Now, you said the
menacing.
original version straight up, or the later version this is more like where his
Not
brain
the
gets
outward
bigger.
brain,
Yeah,
the
just straight up.
vertical brain. And
Yeah.
that is my leader. The vertical brain is
I
my
know, but you know
leader.
what? The outward brain makes more sense because that's what a
It
big brain
does.
does.
I don't want the outward brain leader. I want the
I'm fine
vertical.
with it, and that obviously this was more of a nod to that. I just wish that they really had embraced it.
Yes, I want them to go all in on some of this
Yeah.
comic book stuff. And that stuff
I'm
is
fine
fine.
with out, but go out, not just kinda out.
Sure.
You know?
Ian, the character that took a lot of hit in the re-editing, Sabra. Who is that character? I'm not as familiar from the comics.
She's a mutant that is
Oh,
an Israeli mutant.
what's her power?
Super strength, flight.
It makes her a great spy,
Yeah,
great soldier.
yeah.
Okay, and she fits
So,
in this world, even though she's from the mutant side of Marvel. She fits in this Captain America kind of espionage world.
Here's the problem: is she does and can, but they just made her sort of like, all right, we're going to say she's Sabra, we're going to say she's Ruth Bessaraf, but she's a former Black Widow. It's like her being Sabra was pointless.
Yes.
I'm not sure what that rewrite was.
Right.
But I feel like it probably was a major rewrite, that the fact that she was Israeli and all that was actually relevant to the plot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a movie I was interested in seeing.
Sure.
And we didn't get that because of what's going on in the world. They felt they had to scale that back. So that was frustrating to me. I mean, the fact that she was a former Black Widow, okay, that could have made sense for the sake of, but still let it be that she was really Israeli and representing Israel in some way. That would have been more interesting to me. Can we talk about adamantium?
That's the big one. That's the big one that you nudged me on during the movie and I was shocked that they did this.
Oh, I knew this going in. I knew this a while ago. I didn't just know this like from someone just told me. Like I knew a while ago.
My jaw dropped at it because it felt rushed. It felt like Marvel had no chill and couldn't wait for the mutants to show up and introduce it.
Clear, they planned that. Like that's not a brand new reshoot thing. Like that was part of it a while ago.
But Geekscape who've not seen the movie, the whole point is that the Tiamat, who is emerging at the end of Eternals and is frozen now in the north or in the ice, has adamantium in them. They are scavenging it. The leaders of the world, all the nations are fighting over the adamantium, and that is what General Ross or President Ross is trying to create a peace treaty about, to share the adamantium. And the Serpent Society and the leader are trying to destroy that and create a war and blame it on Ross as revenge.
And so here's the thing, in the comics, adamantium is this alloy that's created, and it's not easy to create, but once you get it a certain way. And vibranium, like in the movies, is this mound fell from the heavens. Mm-hmm. So now we're going, well, adamantium is just another thing that fell from the heavens.
Sure, it's part of the celestial.
So that's a little frustrating. And then it becomes, again, a scramble for adamantium, which we just saw the scramble for vibranium in Black Panther 2. So that's like a retread. And, so Jonathan's wife turned to me after the movie and asked me about Wolverine, saying, oh, is this where he's going to get it from? I said, well, no, we have to remember that Wolverine's from a different world. And presumably, at least initially, that's what I mean by that. And presumably, initially, at least, the Wolverine we get is going to become from a different universe. And, so it's different. So a part of me is like, why bother introducing adamantium this way?
Yeah.
If that's not how you're going to get Wolverine. Because I think it's clear from what we've already seen from Fantastic Four and the end of Marvels that they're not going to introduce the X-Men out of the world we've been looking at.
Right. It's going to be a separate world, and they just introduced adamantium kind of as
like what for?
It felt like it felt like they wanted the pop of the popularity of the adamantium. It felt like a fun plot device. Everybody thinks it's popular. It's linked to Wolverine. It's linked to the X-Men. It's linked to all this different stuff. It didn't need to be in this movie. It could have been almost any natural resource. It could have been. It could have been It could have been more vibranium, but that would have involved the Wakandans.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that they address Tiamat, whether you're going to do Eternals 2 or not, there it is. There should be something. So it makes sense to be some form of technology, something about studying Tiamat. That makes sense. So that's what they came up with. And
especially since it's going to become the Avengers base in the next couple of movies.
Well,
do you think so?
I don't think so. I don't think they're going to do that.
In the comics, it becomes,
Yeah. And it was up in,
the North Pole or somewhere like that.
Yeah, isn't it the North Pole? Isn't it? It's not
It was in
Antarctica.
the North Sea. It was in the but it was sticking out of the ocean.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah. So I don't think they're going to do that. So you referenced something before about Sam and the Avengers. I want to talk about that a bit. I think that the Thunderbolts. I mean, listen, the asterisk and the Thunderbolts. I think is because at the end of the movie they're the Avengers.
Right.
Do not think they're going to be the Avengers with Sam.
They're going to be the Avengers run by the government.
Yes. I think that that's what Val is doing, and Val is shady government stuff.
Yes.
You know, it's interesting. We see in the trailer she is talking to seemingly a congressional hearing, so that matters. But it's been shady stuff. So she's putting together a team that is already doing black ops stuff for her, and then suddenly she's going to go, right, I already have this team, and they're my Avengers. You know,
yeah, that's the Thunderbolts
because it's Dark Avengers.
Yeah,
because that's the thing. I think I've said this before, but you know, the MCU, what they do is they grab a name, but it's never exactly the same thing. The same way Age of Ultron wasn't the Age of Ultron thing. You know, that's what they do. So there's two concepts out there. Thunderbolts in the comics was actually the Masters of Evil, you know, hiding in plain sight, right? Initially,
as the Avengers, it was great.
And Dark Avengers was a different thing. You're never going to call something Dark Avengers, but that's basically what they're going to do. So they're sort of taking two similar ideas and mashing them together. Expect the same thing to happen with Young Avengers, only it'll be champions.
Sure.
You know, because Young Avengers sounds silly. Dark Avengers would be silly, but I think that's what it's going to be. I wonder, I can't decide if it's going to be that Sam is angry about who's on the team, and that's why he forms his own team, or just
Bucky's
to get wiped out. So that's why I think that's less likely. They're probably going to get wiped out by Doom or something like that, and Sam's gonna have to bring in the other Avengers, you know.
Sure. Is Sam gonna have any part on this? Because Bucky shows up in this movie and he has a fun scene.
He does, and maybe he'll legitimize them some way. No, here's the thing. I really don't understand Congressman Bucky. Makes no sense to me.
Nope. Former Russian asset, Congressman Bucky.
Yeah.
Well, not that that's not realistic in our actual government, that there are Russian assets. But
maybe that's the point.
Sure.
Is it true political commentary? I don't know.
I would trust the Winter Soldier more than I'd trust any of these other.
So let's actually, you know, when there were a lot of people that were annoyed, why did Steve not give the shield to Bucky? And I saw that as sort of the prescient understanding of what they actually did in the comics. So for some listeners may not know this, there was a point where Steve died and Bucky became Captain America for a while. And eventually people became aware, it's Bucky and he was the Winter Soldier and he did all this bad stuff, and that was bad.
Yeah, he shouldn't be Captain America. Yeah.
Right, because he was a brainwashed Russian, you know, asset, not so good. So, and then Sam became Captain America, and then, you know, Steve came back and blessed that they both be Captain America.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have to just be one.
We should all be Captain America.
Yeah. But the DEI aspect of it, no, it's not that. And ultimately, you know, I did like that, you know, the way Sam wins in this is very Steve Rogers. Sam is the voice of reason, even down to the leader, you know, predicting, you know, same thing with Sidewinder. He's going to talk it out first. And that's what Steve would have done. So I like that. I do sort of feel at the end of it, and I got into several conversations with people even going into this movie about the whole thing of like, you know, it sort of becomes this joke of, it's the everyman guy doesn't need the super soldier serum. No. Come on. I mean, he's even saying it in the movie. At a certain point, it's like, you could take the super soldier serum. You take the super soldier serum.
Yeah.
Because even this movie, like, he gets hurt a bunch of times and he still snapped back. I'm like, no. He gets stabbed several times. He gets knocked around. His vertebrae.
The suit gets ripped up.
Yeah. Let's be clear. Super soldier serum or not, the Red Hulk, he's lucky to live through it. But the idea that he could go up against the Red Hulk and not be in a hospital bed for a couple of years afterwards without something healing him super fast, no.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't make any sense. So I like that at least he even acknowledges I really need to take that.
Yeah. Well,
I thought they were going to give him that they were going to have his whole uniform was going to be vibranium, not just the wings.
I agree. And I was surprised.
Like Black Panther.
I still thought it was the whole uniform.
And then it was clear, and it wasn't.
Yeah, he's taking the hits with the wings. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then the wings start getting smacked.
Right.
Like
So
the Hulk
let me
starts
say
beating the
this.
wings off.
When he got it in Falcon Winter Soldier, and they gave him the uniform, I thought they gave him a full vibranium, because way back when in the comics, Black Panther's uniform was not vibranium.
Mm.
He would, spandex just like everyone else, and he took the herb, and that was it. And then the claws are vibranium, and eventually they became, the whole outfit was vibranium, which, by the way, is a little Iron Man-y, but fine, So in the comics originally, they gave Falcon, it was always a gift from Black Panther, the wings, and they were vibranium. That goes way back. It was actually weird. When Falcon was originally around, he didn't fly. He wore that green outfit, and it had wings on it, but he couldn't fly.
Yeah.
It didn't even make sense that he was Falcon.
Right.
And then Black Panther gives him the wings. So I'm like, okay, cool. But to me, when he showed up, with some of our cons, I'm like, what's the whole outfit, right? Because now he doesn't have any superpowers, but at least he has like some kind of something like taking the impact off of that. So you see in this movie, he uses the wings to shield himself a bunch of times until they get torn off.
And he also has the Dark Angel knives. He shoots Dark Angel knives.
Yes, but literally he gets stabbed.
Archangel.
He has to, and I like that. He has to change the outfit simply because the base that isn't the wings is just a freaking outfit.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know. To me, I was like, well, how is it not the whole outfit? That seemed kind of crazy to me.
Shout out to Daniel Ramirez for doing it without the Wakandan vibranium wings, and he's taking on some F-15s.
And that character I actually really, really liked.
I did too. He was a lot of fun. It was a really good addition, and I thought, really based on the advertising where they were doing like a buddy thing on one. I don't know what the product was, but they were just doing a Falcon he and Falcon were going back and forth, and they were talking. It was a tie-in commercial. I was like, oh no, this buddy stuff is going to might get kind of annoying in the movie, but I thought it was a lot of fun. It was good.
Yeah. And
it showed a progression of the Dana Ramirez character that is, Joaquin's fairly new in the comics. And I think it's super cool that they're advancing him in the MCU, because when that Avengers movie hits and he's the Falcon and there's a Captain America, it's going to be awesome. The Thunderbolts who will become part of an Avengers team will be Bucky, Black Widow.
Well, wait a second.
And who else?
Are you going to make assumptions about who survives Thunderbolts?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
I mean, Ian, like let's just talk about who ends up on an Avengers team going into Doomsday, going into that stuff.
I may or may not know some things about that, so I'm not
review. Okay, you're not going to do it. Okay,
no.
So I'm going to make the assumptions right here. Not going to kill Bucky in a Thunderbolts movie, and maybe you do, and I cry. You got Sam on the team going into Doomsday. The Avengers are going to look like this. Okay, yeah, don't be coy.
No.
Don't say anything.
Remember what I said before, which is not something I know.
Okay.
I don't think Sam's Avengers are the Avengers going into Doomsday.
Yes. Oh, got it. Yes.
I think
they're the solution to Doomsday.
Or maybe at the end of Doomsday or something like that. I think at the beginning of Doomsday, they're not it. I think
it's
at the end of Thunderbolts, we have who's left. Okay. That's what I think.
In Black, and they're not enough for Doomsday.
Right.
And Reed Richards shapes them up. But I think Yelena's on that team. I think Bucky's on that team. And
I wonder where in Doomsday the Fantastic Four show up. I don't know the answer to that.
Sure.
I don't know. I think Doom probably shows up at the end of Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
To set it up. But he's not main in it, Yeah. Yeah. I think some other characters, fan favorite characters, are going to show up.
In Fantastic Four?
In Doomsday. Great. Early on in it. Of course.
Let's go.
Ones you're not expecting, I think.
Oh, I'd love that. I can't wait for Daredevil to show up.
I didn't say that.
I can't wait for She-Hulk to show up.
I would love that.
I can't wait for Moon Knight to show up.
I would love. She-Hulk would have made me so happy in this movie, but again, as I already said, not enough time.
It's Werewolf by Night.
Yeah.
Oh, how awesome would that have been?
That would be great. Okay. Listen, everyone should be on the table at least for Secret Wars.
Agreed. Secret Wars should be a $2 billion budget.
We thought for both Infinity War and for Endgame, You get all the characters from the Netflix shows should have shown up, and they didn't do it, and it's a waste. And I think Marvel's going to do better this time.
Yeah.
I think whoever they bring back, they at least show them now. I mean, we got Charlie Cox in Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Dude, and you're caught up on Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, that Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. We got to do an episode. Do we got to do an episode? We got 2 episodes left.
Do an episode, yeah.
I got to tell you, Ian, that first episode of Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, just do a little bit aside here, Geekscapists. You should be watching this. The first 2 episodes, I'm like, okay, they changed enough. I'm like, all right, Peter's not the most interesting character in this so far. And by episode 8, which is what has aired as of the recording of this,
I'm not even getting into it. It deserves its own episode. There's a lot to say about it. Oh my goodness,
Geekscapists,
go a very different direction.
But I will say this: that Eugene Bird, our former Geekscape guest and friend, who's in Chasing Fletcher Allen and this and that, like as Lonnie Lincoln, I'm just gonna say that I think this is the Lonnie Lincoln show. Like he has the Parker luck so far in this series. The Parker bad luck that you usually attribute to Peter, Lonnie's got it, and it's really made me buy into this series in a huge way. I love the animation. I love all it. Geekscapists, just telling you, Ian and I are coming down with a Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man episode. You do not want to sleep on this series. You want to watch it and then be ready for Ian and I to talk about it. That's all I'm going to say about it. But damn, am I in love with this show at this point? So, Ian, we have Daredevil Born Again. That's the next live action that gets us bridged over to Thunderbolts. We discussed a bit of Thunderbolts and what that might be. I kind of love that I don't know.
Is Daredevil before Thunderbolts?
I think we can start getting Daredevil in March, Ian Kerner.
Oh, really? Oh, awesome.
Let's take a look. Can we confirm that real quick on the internet? The Daredevil Born Again is March 4th on the first episode, my friend. That's you only have to wait 2 more weeks.
All right.
You're getting Daredevil Born Again in 2 weeks. Then you're going to have Ian Born Again because he loves it so much.
I hope it's great.
Oh, man. Is Iron Fist going to show up and is Luke Cage going to show up? Talk. You're the man who knows the ins and outs.
Maybe. No, I haven't heard that for either of them.
Jessica Jones?
I've heard Krista Ritter be coy about that she definitely would like to. And I think she's more likely. I mean, let's talk about what we do know. We know we're getting Punisher. We know Karen and Foggy are back. Obviously, Kingpin.
Elektra. She's back.
Oh, is Elektra back?
Yes, that actress is back.
Oh, I hadn't heard that. Okay.
Maybe it's just flashbacks, or this and that. But
I hadn't heard that. So that's interesting to know.
Finn Jones.
Bullseye's back.
Yes, saw him in the trailer. But former Geekscape guest Finn Jones as Iron Fist. Who knows? But I'm stoked for that Daredevil Born Again.
Listen, I think that they left the Iron Fist stuff hanging out there, and obviously they left the Luke Cage situation funky. But the tricky thing is, it's not the same universe. They're incorporating as much of it as they want. Yeah.
But I just want that Simu Liu like Finn Jones team up for some kung fu action. I want a kung fu action corner of the universe. Okay, Ian, like this movie's interesting. The Captain America New World Order. I thought that I actually enjoyed this movie based on how interesting it was.
Oh, we didn't talk about the tag at the end.
We're going to get to that, but I think that there's parts in this movie that survive the reshoots, survive a lot of this stuff, and it made a movie very much worth seeing. Like Derpy Entertainment on YouTube says it's a 6.5 out of 10. I think it's a bit higher than that, but no, this is an interesting movie, and at times it's very successful. Yeah. But sometimes it's just there's a movie that can't please everybody. But I was down with it.
I'm conflicted by my feelings about it. I was entertained by it. It's fun. It's a little forgettable, but
some portions are.
But it moves certain things forward, so I think it. People should see it. It's not bad.
No, it's not a bad
choppy,
movie. Yes,
choppy. But it's kind of fun. I mean, Harrison Ford's fantastic as always.
The Isaiah Bradley stuff
was great,
like, awesome. When they arrest him, I was like,
that was great. There's a lot of good stuff in the movie.
Loved it. Okay, let's talk about that tag with the leader where he warns of other heroes from other worlds.
So again, I said before about beats you've seen before. I mean, wasn't that like almost exactly right out of Dawn of Justice.
Yeah.
Like, that bothered me. I was like, really? You're seriously doing Luthor at the end of Dawn of Justice?
Yeah.
Like, that's a movie you want to crib from?
That should have been a banner scene. Mid-credit should have been a banner scene.
And I get they want to set this stuff up, but it didn't feel like that was the place to do it.
Yeah.
Or the way to do it, or the character to do it with. I mean, it's interesting because he knows.
Do you want to set it up? It's already set up, Ian. Like all that other, all that other universes, and like maybe the Fox characters coming over and all that stuff. Like that's already set up. We don't need a mid credits for that. Every fan knows that this is coming, guys.
If you want to do it with an actual incursion or something like that.
Right.
You know.
Right.
I mean, can I tell you the real way to set that shit up?
Let's go.
What I really wanted, and this is your hint to see if you know. What was the thing I was most disappointed in Multiverse of Madness that we didn't get?
The evil cap.
That's right. Hydra
Cap. Yeah.
Yeah. You throw me a Hydra Cap tag, okay? That's how you set that fucking shit up in the Captain America movie.
Let's calm down, Ian. Please.
I'm just saying.
What if you'd have gotten Downey Junior Doom that early? You know, just please. We need to relax here and be realistic, Ian. But you're demanding too much. I think of Mark Ruffalo. Remember the scene at the end of...
If you want to include Leader, have Leader communicating with Hydra Cap.
Sure. But remember the end of Shang-Chi where you had Mark Ruffalo talking about and they're discussing the rings
and Wong and Captain Marvel
and Captain Marvel, like a follow-up to that. Let's bring some more of these characters together and start
By the way,
this is all coming back.
Having that was like, wasn't that Avengers? Like, wasn't that essentially they were the Avengers? And yes, but no one knows about it or something? I don't know.
Captain Marvel and and Shang-Chi are going to be on the Avengers team by the end of that Doomsday. Let's go. The popular characters are going to be there.
Didn't it seem like that was literally like right out of Endgame and the Cosmic Avengers, you know?
I'm surprised we don't have a Shang-Chi 2 at this point. It did so well. It was gangbusters.
They're supposed to still making it, but now it seems like it might not be made till after those movies. Which
that director had been brought over to do the King Dynasty and this and that, and now that he's not, hopefully he's doing the Shang-Chi.
We're not getting it before.
I know we're not. We're not.
Because by the way,
they're shooting Doomsday right now.
They're shooting Doomsday that movie comes out in a year, right? Well, a year and change. It's July of 26?
2026. Like they're shooting Doomsday right now. And I read a story about how Tom Holland is having a stunt double do a lot of the stuff right now because he's doing the Odyssey for Christopher Nolan, and then he's going to put on some Spidey suit and start doing that stuff. It's all happening again.
I'm not clear if the next Spider-Man is before Doomsday or in between Doomsday and Secret War.
I don't think it can be because Doomsday and Secret War, aren't they a year apart?
I think the next Spider-Man's either before Doomsday or in between the two.
It won't be before Doomsday because we get Doomsday next summer, my friend.
I think that's right. So I'm not clear on that, but yeah.
Okay. Ian, final thoughts on Brave New World?
I mean, I think what we said a couple minutes ago. I think it's decent. I didn't hate it. It advances some stuff. There's a lot to enjoy in it. It's a flawed movie though.
Yeah,
you know, it's choppy in places. You said it well before. This is a movie that should have been better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it was still entertaining. But it should have. Thunderbolts looks great to me.
I love it.
I hope it doesn't disappoint.
These movies, whether or not they're successful or unsuccessful, I think that the strongest parts of any of the Marvel films, and they almost all unanimously have it, are the moments of heart. And this movie had a lot of heart. The Anthony Mackie sequences where he's dramatic and there's a lot of stuff going on, even his conversations with Harrison Ford, or whether or not he should take the super soldier serum and become the hero that he's inherited with the shield, the mantle of Cap. Like, that stuff had a lot of heart, the self-doubt. And Thunderbolts looks like it's every character on the team has self-doubt. And I think that has a lot of heart.
You know what's interesting is
that's what I'm looking forward to in Marvel movies, is the heart.
When you look at a scene like when President Ross is telling you you're not Steve Rogers, is that about more than just doesn't have the super soldier serum? Is it also about who he is as a person and the things he hasn't done? Or is it really just about the super soldier serum?
Well, Captain I mean, Captain America, Steve Rogers had the whole sequence of World War II. He had a whole history. He was part of the Avengers,
Right.
this and that. And Thunderbolt Ross saw him as part of the Avengers. Sam has not yet been part of the Avengers. And so he gives him a chance. And I thought that was a good scene where he says, before the assassination attempt, Sam, you and I are going to rebuild the Avengers. And I was like, cool, let's go. The assassination attempt clearly takes that off the table. And we're going to pick that up with Bucky later on.
Does
But
that
it's super
follow for
cool.
you that the assassination attempt takes off the table?
It absolutely follows for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
Why? Because he's mad that it was his friend that brought him there?
Yeah, because he endorsed Isaiah Bradley, and Isaiah Bradley took the
Yeah.
shot. You know, that he has to find out whether or not Sam Wilson can be trusted.
But the problem is that he knows pretty quickly it wasn't Sam, that it wasn't Isaiah Bradley, that it's the leader controlling him. So does
He
it
can't
make
publicly
sense
say that
he doesn't have to publicly say it to not
because
be
Ross
blaming
has
Sam that
dealings
way.
with the leader.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, but yes, Ross is in a situation where he doesn't know who to trust, and I think that stuff comes off the table. But you know, have Senator Bucky to deal with it when he gets elected.
I think, in fairness, Ross isn't
He's not gonna-
thinking clearly because he has these drugs in him that are turning him into the Red Hulk. So,
if only he had doctors doing, you know,
Weird,
regular.
very weird.
Yeah, it's like, come on, you can't. He's full of gamma. You don't know that.
The flip side of that is, I mean, I don't know if we ever heard of presidential doctors that just don't announce things going on with the president, and you know,
I see where you're
rubber
going
stamps
with
and
this.
stuff. I don't know. I don't. Is that a thing?
This one. I thought the assassination attempt when I saw the trailer was going to be an injection of radiation into President Ross. I thought it was going to be, you know, he got irradiated there, but they didn't do that either.
They did not do that there.
All good. It was an enjoyable movie. Till we talk Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man here in, I think, like a week, Ian. Get ready for that. Bring your web shooters, okay, buddy? Thwip. All right. Geekscape is, you can follow us on all the socials. Let us know on like Facebook. We got a group, Geekscape Forever. Tell us what you thought of Captain America, Brave New World Order, not New World Order. What's it called? It's not Brave New World anymore. It's New World Order. What released?
No, it's Brave New World is the way it came out. It was New World Order originally, and now it's Brave New World.
Okay, I have the title as Brave New World. Up there it says Brave New. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing. New World Order is not what it's called.
It was New World Order.
That's the banner I had. Okay,
yes.
So Brave New World. Okay, let us know what you think on the socials, and we'll be back in a week for Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. If you're watching this live and want to subscribe to Geekscape, please do. My buddy DJ Woolbridge is on the show this week to talk about his new kickstarting comic. Yeah, we're all kickstarting comics, and it's fun. I love it. We'll talk to you then. Okay. Don't hate, create. Over and out. Say bye, Ian.
Bye, Ian.